Okay, everybody. Good evening, good evening, good evening, good evening. A big, warm welcome to everybody tonight to this Local Enterprise Week special event here at the White Horse. We're delighted to have a lovely group of people here. I recognise many in the audience from across the business spectrum and from further beyond. And of course, our context tonight is that this event is one of the highlights of Local Enterprise Week, and is kindly sponsored by the good people at the Cork City Local Enterprise Office. So big thanks to Paul and to Ivan and all the gang. Come on, Bula Boss is right, Jonas, for having us on here. And as you are probably aware, there's a whole range of events on every single day this week. And you're all free to enroll and come along. And I'm going to mention an event tomorrow evening that I'm involved in with Derval O'Rourke and her business partner Greg O'Gorman, and that is focusing on the challenges and opportunities that arise when you move from being a sports person to an entrepreneur. Now, I was going to say that I was a wannabe sports person, and obviously I'm a wannabe entrepreneur too, in many ways. So it doesn't necessarily matter if you're not an Olympian. Anyone is welcome to attend that as well. So, and there's a whole range of other events that you can look up on the website localenterprise.ie, and you can just search down to the various venues and so on. So that's it. Now, this evening, here in the wonderful White Horse, we are very lucky to have two very special entrepreneurs to join me in the newly upgraded red stool, which is still a red chair. So in about 45 to 50 minutes from now, we will be welcoming Peter Coppinger of Teamwork up here. Peter is hovering around there, trying to be cool, which is his natural state, by the way, as you find out. And but before then, I'd love for you to give a big White Horse Bula Boss to Miss Kate Hyde. How are you, Kate?
I'm good. Yeah.
You have the honour of being the first person to relax into the new red stool as opposed to the red chair. So. Hopefully history will acknowledge that fact. Tell me, Kate, a lot of people coming here tonight recognised who you were and so on, but tell us a bit about Glen Cove Group and what that entails.
Okay, so Glen Cove Group is basically a series of websites in the small group event space. So we do hen parties, stag parties, baby showers, team building, those sort of events here in Ireland and in the UK, and we work across Europe as well. But when I started the business, I started it as henparty.ie, and I was on Dragon's Den 10 years ago, whatever, and got investment, and the business grew from there. But at one point I went to Enterprise Ireland to sort of start conversations there, and I wasn't getting very far, and I couldn't figure it out, and I didn't understand it. And then at some point someone kind of took me aside and said, I don't mean to be rude, but hen party, the word hen party is causing a few giggles in the halls of Enterprise Ireland. We may need you to look at restructuring that. Okay. So out of that came Glen Cove Group, being very frank. That's where it came from. So, it just looked a little bit more professional. And then as the business grew and we added more websites to it, it became more than just hen parties. Right. So that was kind of the background to it, yeah.
Wow. So it's almost like it's the curtain behind which reveals all the fun stuff that's going on behind the serious sounding Glen Cove. Okay. So give us a sense of the other websites, because henparty.ie is obviously is it the biggest one?
Yeah, it would be so.
Right,
yeah,
right.
Yeah,
so give us a sense of the other range of...
So I bought stagparty.ie about 3 years after I started Hen Party, and that came on the market. I was in a kind of bidding situation for it, and I won, so that was great because it was a natural fit with my existing brand. Good. And then a year or two after that, we could see the market changing. There was more money coming back into the economy. People weren't looking for sort of stack 'em and rack 'em anymore. They were looking to spend a little bit more money, so we went into sort of a fancier approach. So that was the Fancy Hen, and it was sort of a more bespoke offering to the market, where, you know, if you wanted to stay in 4 or 5 star hotels as opposed to staying in a hostel, that we could cater for you there. There was another competitor approached me, a smaller one, at one point, and said they were going out of business. So I bought that just as a defensive block, just to make sure nobody else got it. And then maybe 4 or 5 years ago, Baby Shower again was selling, and it came to me, and it was just really a domain and stock at that point. So I just invested a little bit of money in it and flipped that around as well. And then Big Potatoes is our corporate one. So
Big Potatoes.
Big Potatoes. And actually what was very cool is we had a dispute recently with ITV over the brand. And so even though it was quite a stressful time, it was really cool to get posts from ITV into the office.
Yeah, for sure.
And we settled it, and we have use of the trademarks. So that was really cool.
Wow.
So that's more, that for team building stuff. So we have companies now like Workday and Google going out with us through that. So that's in its infancy now, and that can only grow. And then we also have strawberryhen.co.uk, which is in the UK. And I did that a few years ago actually first, and I was very naive at the time. It was like, we're market leader here in Ireland, how hard can it be? And actually, wow, it's actually much different over in the UK. And I burned through so much money, and a bit like Peter, I've self-funded everything to date, bar some small bank loans. And so I wasted a lot of my own money on that. So I kind of went back to that now this year, and it's going really, really well, but with a totally different approach. So it's been very interesting to learn from that kind of situation where you think you know it all, and you think you're flying, and then you actually realise that it's a totally different animal. They're our closest trading partners, but actually it's particularly B2C, it's a very different sell, it's different wording, different offering, where we can to some degree dictate the market here. Over there we couldn't. So we've just gone back now, so that's our big thing for this year now, and it's already going really well, so I'm excited about that.
Give me a sense though of what the day-to-day operation of all those, obviously because like the front end, which people see the website and small, but how do you, how much of the A to Z of what people are getting involved in are you in?
So I have different teams in the business, so my sales team is really important obviously, and they're with me a long time, a lot of them. And it's interesting, I was at a thing in Lisbon recently where I was speaking about like the super consumer and how everyone wants everything now.
Right.
And any of us that have a business in the room knows that you need to be instant to keep your customer, but you also need them to feel like they're the only person you're dealing with at that moment in time. And that's really hard balance to get when you're a BTC. So we have unbelievable systems in place for managing. So, I mean, look, when I started the business, I remember my first hen party, going out in Waterford, I had 15 people out on a Saturday night, and I didn't sleep for the whole night. I thought I'd get sick, that something would go wrong,
I can imagine.
But now we're up to 40,000 people a year. So it's like systems and everyone knowing their role in the company. There's no room for error, and very, very tight ways of doing things. So, my salespeople, the inquiries come in via the websites, and then a whole system kicks into place there where sometimes people are being talked to, sometimes they think they're being talked to, and just technology, but there's still for us a really customer facing portion to the business. So where new companies come and they try and automate things, and we see this a lot, competitors will come out of college and they'll sort of build high-tech apps and high-tech websites to take the people and the sort of salespeople out of things. Our customers still need to tell you that Auntie Mary won't share with Auntie Joan, or that, and tell you why at great length, and give you all the way back to 1970 how they fell out,
Right.
And so, we have an offsite every year where we go through what the salespeople are talking about, and something we hear a lot is that they're become agony aunts for the customers. So it's trying to get that perfect balance right, where they think they're the only person on your desk, but also that you're replying instantly to them, which today's consumer needs as well. So it's quite interesting to always get that balance right.
So what is then, within the business, what's the balance between, how much you can automate and then call it the high touch, that you're describing? I mean, can you ever get it beyond a certain level, or is that always going to be the secret sauce?
I made that decision a long time ago that I would lose a portion of inquiries due to that automation. But when I looked at doing it a different way, we would just not have made the same revenue. So that was a very clear and conscious business decision. The people we lose here, we might field them off into one of our other websites that people may not know it's ours. But what we do is what we do, and our service should still speak to itself, despite the fact you may not like exactly how we come to you. And to some degree, it's seems to work, that was the business decision.
And how then? Give us a sense. Obviously, you've expanded into multiple different domains there with the different sites. So how do you find that all of them follow the same in terms of the economy and the business environment, are they all on a similar path, or are they complementary? Is one particularly busy while another one is soft, or vice versa? Or what do you notice?
I mean, we know which ones are the strong ones in terms of brand recognition, and we focus our marketing on them. We would still, ones we don't spend as much money on, we will still get revenue from them, because a proportion of the population just want to do something totally different, and say they didn't go with the market leader, they didn't go with anyone knew. We found this great deal on another website. Interestingly, when we started the Fancy Hen, one package overlapped between two websites, and we used to see the same person inquiring to both websites, and it would be interesting then to see which one they'd actually go for. You'd nearly tie that back to where they lived, their age, how much budget they had, it's all down to how the customer looks to us.
Okay. Now give me a sense, when you started off with the henparty.ie and that arc of into this multiple website, built out and all this experience, 40,000 people involved, it's amazing. What's that been like, that journey of let's try this to where you are now? I know it's a broader question, but what does it feel like as you sit here now thinking about it?
Jesus.
You've done a lot.
I actually, someone said earlier, it was Peter actually, like the old days are kind of fun when you're starting off. I think I really like starting businesses. I mentor for Leo as well, and I enjoy that because I remember those times where you're fighting for every customer, every penny matters, and it's been an incredible journey. It was very much one of those businesses that everyone told me not to do, and
is that right?
don't do
it. For what reason?
Because it was hen party. So back then, it's 10 years ago now. Hen party was a very sort of dirty word. Nobody, businesses didn't want them. They wanted to keep them away from their mainstream clientele. It's really over the last 10 years that's changed, and we don't remember that. And then going on Dragon's Den, I had no money starting this business. I had nothing, and I sold an old car to get the website off the ground, and I got a very small credit union loan for $5,000, I think, at the time, and that put the website live. And then I learned SEO myself and drove it on at night. But then Dragon's Den came out, and I realised that if I could go on the television and tell people about my business, it was the best form of advertising I could ever get. I didn't expect to get investment, which I did. And then that changed everything, because I had massive platforms then to talk about the business.
As seen on TV.
Exactly. And I was the first woman to get investment. So it just, and back then, entrepreneurism hasn't sort of evolved to the point it is now. It was not as common, and
it wasn't as cool.
No, not at all. Weird, no, and I got all the regular lines but what about your pension? You're going to have children soon. Is this a good move? How does Paul feel about this?
Fuck's sake.
Paul
has to be happy,
exactly. And Paul was a solicitor at the time, so there was a kind of will hen parties tie with that? And
you'd be mortified. You can't do that.
But all jokes aside, I had a lot of knocks in the early days. I couldn't get on incubation programs. I couldn't get money from the bank. The minute I would say hen party, computer would say no. And I got a lot of laughs as well. So so it was one of those businesses. So to even have come to this point after 10 years, sometimes I can't believe it. I wasn't even sure myself how it would go. But I've always been very driven, I suppose, and very ambitious, and if I put my mind to something, I'll always try and do it to the best of my ability. But there have been ups and downs in there. The stuff they don't tell you, as I'm sure anyone in the room has their own business, HR issues, cash flow issues, just random issues like a woman falling off a pole with a drag queen in Waterford, and will she sue? Right now I can look back and laugh, but at the time I was like, Jesus, So it's been a very, very colourful 10 years, and with great highs and great lows. I bought my dragons out in 2015. That was a really big high for me to get out from under that and get off the wheel. But then obviously that costs money, so there's always a trade-off, and then my UK debacle, didn't go so brilliantly because of how I'm built. I took that very personally. It felt like a big failure. But you heal, you learn, you go on, and now I'm doing it a different way, and it looks good. So it's just highs and lows, as I'm sure it is for anyone in this room with their own business, highs and lows.
Wow. What do you think has kept you in contention, so to speak, or kept you kind of on your bicycle through that time, and you outlined some of the ups and downs and some of those setbacks, but what has kept you going? What has brought you to here?
I'm just very driven, very driven and ambitious, and it's a word we don't use enough, I think.
No, true
in
enough.
Ireland, you know, it's like there are a lot of people that are very ambitious out there, but they don't like to say it publicly because it might be seen as you're, you know, what's wrong with you, or again, why aren't you happy with what you have? And there's a difference between ambitious and
very pushy, that one.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And unfortunately, I was always raised that I was no different to my brother. So I kind of sometimes kind of go, is it really different for women? But actually, maybe over time, I have spotted that it is. So and I saw it with my daughter recently in the playground in school. You know, she got a little bit of feedback from some of her peers, she's 8, that she might be a little bit bossy.
All right.
Yeah, and I remember
the all-time great euphemisms.
And I remember going into her teacher and just saying, you know, it's the narrative has to change a little bit. And I'm by no means like, you know me, I'm not a radical feminist or anything, but it's like, you know, we call maybe little boys natural leaders, but little girls are bossy. And I in that moment, I realised that it starts there, and that we have to tell little girls, because I said to her actually, and how do you feel? And she said, well, they're right, I do like to be in charge in the playground.
So you've got self-awareness as well, that's great.
I was like, well, you know what? My daughter's called Honey, and I said, well, you know what, Honey? So do I. I like to be in charge too.
You really do.
But it's about maybe being comfortable with that and sort of owning it a little bit and not being afraid of it, and then also making sure that other people know it's okay to be ambitious as well, because you know, particularly we're a very small country, we're a very small city in a very small country.
True.
And you know, you need to, if you're ambitious, you need to hear other people saying they're ambitious so you can feed off each other. Even some of the people in the room here, I know from Smarter Egg with you, and I love meeting them for that reason, where we're all seeing how we can make our business better, you know.
Yeah, no, that's a very interesting point you bring up about the childhood view, because if I was to ask you to kind of zoom back to maybe teenage years, maybe, or whatever lands for you here now, but that at a moment of, let's say, indecision about, you know, can I really be me? How can I express myself? Can I, you know, I think this could be done in a certain way, or, you know, why can't we do it that way? But there's this force, whether it's internally expressed or wherever someone's telling you can't do that, okay, sit down. What do you think that girl would make of the Kate sitting up here?
Sometimes I don't regret very much in my life at all. I try not to. I make decisions as they happen for the reason I do at the time. But I wish I had been more aware, as they say, youth is wasted on the young, maybe a bit when I was younger, because particularly when I was starting off and nobody would give me a break with the business. I mean, and when I say that, I really mean it. I could not get a break anywhere. And I wish maybe now I was maybe prepared to be a little bit more confident in that ambition at the time. I didn't recognise it either, you see. I used to just think I was a control freak and that I just wanted it to work, you know. But actually, I wanted it to be the biggest website in Ireland. I wanted to make money. Even in Ireland, it's not okay to say you want to make money. It's still, and I actually blame it on like communions and confirmations, where, you know, you get a fiver and your mother would say, put it away,
right.
you know.
And
so we all go, God,
you
know, money must be dirty, so I can't talk about money, you know. It's very vulgar. And I actually think it's just, you know, I was at a conference, I go to a lot of conferences internationally, just again to tap into other people. And I remember being at a table with this guy he was from Austin, huge property developer. And he just goes to me, hey Kate, so what's your turnover? I said, Jesus, my family wouldn't ask me that, Mark, you know.
Highly inappropriate.
You know, and I told him, and feeling embarrassed nearly, even though, you know, and he was like, wow, what is that? Like, you know, and it's just that endemic sort of Irish cultural thing that we do. And I think sometimes women as well, for fear of that bitchy boss kind of label. But I kind of come to a point in my life now where I'm like, this is who I am, I'm okay with this, it's got me this far. And, you know, but even when my daughter said to me, you know, well, I do like, you know, being in charge in the playground, I said, well, that's grand. But then actually what I said to her was, but you always need to bring your team with you, honey. Okay. You know? So that's what I'm trying to teach her. It's okay to want to be leader, but bring your team with you, even if you're 8.
Yeah, absolutely. Jesus, they're even younger.
Yeah.
So, but to close off on that point though, like what advice along the lines of what you said about, you know, bringing the team with you, would you give back to your younger self? Know that you have that sense of confidence and having kind of ridden through the storm, so to speak, but might also be helpful to some of the people in the room here or watching online that are thinking, oh, you know what, she's right, or I wish someone had said that to me. What kind of thing?
For me, a big game changer for me practically was finding people built like me. So even when I was with my friends from school or my friends from college, nobody else wanted to start a business. No one else was spotting things saying, I wonder, could I do that? Or, oh my God, if they only did that, then we could make money. You know, my first business idea, I hand wrote a request to AIB in College Road, asking them I wanted to buy a chocolate fountain ever before they came in, and I wanted to go around to weddings in Cork and do chocolate fountains. But I wasn't with people who got me, so I felt maybe I was a basket case, or you know, and so it was really only when I started teaming up with people who have become very good friends of mine actually, where you realise that you're not actually crazy, or you're not a control freak, that you're ambitious, or that you're just, you know,
they're
have
also
high standards.
human beings, right?
Yeah,
they're
exactly.
Not aliens
Exactly, and some of the people, even people here in Cork, I meet regularly, would be very important to me in my life that way. Where they don't say I'm crazy if I say someday I want to hit double-digit millions. They don't go, Jesus, Kate, you're getting a bit above yourself there. You know, they'll go, and what's the path to that look like, Kate? You know, or you should talk to X person. They got from single-digit millions to double-digit millions, and they could tell you how to do it. And I think that's so important. And these sort of groups and these sort of talks, these were not around when I needed them actually, and they're so invaluable for that reason.
So you've got some goals that we can mine there, Kate, because, you know, just from knowledge of some of the stuff you've been involved in, like that Dell network, and even navigating through the Enterprise Ireland programs, or Leo stuff, the Ignite mentoring, all those things, or even some of the circles and so on. What kind of approach to that, call it kind of peer collaboration or peer engagement, tends to, even answer this from your own perspective, no, I'm not trying to answer from anyone else, but what kind of approach to it gives you the best chance of getting something out of it, so to speak?
Talking to people off piece nearly, if you know what I mean. So the best conversations I've had have been like later on, maybe around dinner tables or at the coffee breaks or whatever, finding people, talking to them and finding common ground. And that I generally find more beneficial than the speakers. Speakers never massively inspire me. It's the environment, or you know, that someone else may have been through what you've been through, but you won't find that out unless you start engaging with them. You know, but maybe like that over a coffee or at breakfast in the mornings, and then swapping details, and then slowly but surely building up a relationship with them. And I think that is really important. Peer-to-peer learning, I guess, is what that is effectively. You know. A lot of these, I find it very interesting, a lot of these conferences and these meetups are very structured, and they're nearly structured by middle management for entrepreneurs. But if an entrepreneur actually organised some of these conferences, it would not look like what we go to. Do you know, does that make sense? You know, it's like a very formulaic approach to it, but designed by people who aren't actually the customer.
That's interesting.
So I think free-flowing peer-to-peer knowledge, sitting in a circle, or warts and all, building confidence, and I know you do a lot of that.
But would you describe yourself as introverted in that sense, or is that context dependent? I mean,
you know
let you off.
But you know this about me. So I am, even though I'll get up here and I'll talk for hours and I have a lot of energy and but I'm actually really introverted. I lead a very simple life. I don't talk at things much anymore. I used to do an awful lot, particularly after Dragon's Den. I did a lot of press and television, but I'm most comfortable in a field with nature, with a few birds around me actually. So that can be very challenging to be in a room with loads of very successful people and say, hi, I'm Kate, and especially, what do you do? I organise hen parties. You know.
You're waiting
so but you have to push yourself out. It's as simple as that. You sit back and you do nothing, or you push yourself out there, and they're the choices. You know, we are still ultimately responsible for ourselves and for our own success and path, and we have to make choices to either get along our path or stay on the place we're most comfortable or risk-free.
So it's true, because a lot of our, call it our expectations, or at least we adopt these expectations, especially kind of through schooling or through watching successful people, and oh, that's the way those people behave, therefore I have to behave like that. I hate behaving like this. Oh shit, I have to do this. Oh no, and I'm dreading doing this, and then afterwards I'm exhausted. So you're into this cycle of, oh my God, can I build myself up for the next thing? But it really is about finding your own way of doing it, and you seem to have...
And not going to everything. So I think some people go to absolutely everything, but maybe researching what you're going to, knowing that you will meet people at your size of revenue or with the same challenges or in the same industry. If you just randomly go to everything, that's what's going to happen. You're going to spend your time networking and eventually just forget to run your business. I've seen so many people do that. Go to the opening of a brown paper envelope and nearly forget to run their business, you know, or ignore problems they're having and just busy themselves in networking. I think it needs to be really strategic, particularly if you have a family, you know. When I was starting off, it was just me. Now it's not, so...
Yeah, that's a different context. On that theme, one of the things that has kind of emerged as a kind of a theme in coaching in the last 10 years is the fact that especially in, you know, as an entrepreneur, as someone who's building a business, who's, you know, putting yourself out there as leading, you know, you have people looking to you for, you know, Kate shows the way kind of thing. But there's a school of thought that there's no better personal development journey in terms of, you know, crafting who's the real Kate, you know, how can I prove myself in different environments, can I reveal who I truly am, how do I know who I am? Would you agree with that school of thought in terms of it's like an accelerated personal development path that you didn't necessarily choose?
Maybe. Yeah. I've had a very colourful time in my life. It's been it really has. I mean, you know, that's a really hard one to answer, because I worked on Pepsi's graduate programme when I came out of college first. If I had stayed with Pepsi and become an accountant, would I have gone through the same personal growth? I don't know. I drank way too much in college because I had all this energy and I didn't know where to put it, and I was very rattled, and you know, so I used to just party hard to try and shake a lot of that energy off. And I just think that maybe if I hadn't started my own business, I would never have really been able to cast off that energy. So maybe I would have ended up in a serious problem with booze, being honest, you know. I mean, who knows? If I had just constantly conformed to what everyone else was around me was doing, maybe it would have been a terrible path for... Who knows, though, you know? Indeed. Who knows? But has it... I mean, look, I think everyone in the room has gone through some kind of personal development in their lives. But I don't regret the choices I made, and I would never be able to work for anybody again.
No, that's a big one.
Would you hire me?
Jesus, Kate, it depends, right? It depends, of course. No, because that's a kind of a thing that, and again, this comes up in coaching, where people struggle with that realization, almost like, Jesus, I'm not that shape. So therefore, there is a whole section of the world where there's no room for me because I'm the wrong shape for that space, so I have to go over here, and oh crap, this stuff over here is scarier, and it's like the forbidden forest, and I'm not sure if I'll get out the other end, and all this kind of stuff. But so that's useful, I would say, probably. But what about call it the extension of that then? Like what, you know, how does that show up as a strength in, you know, how you're doing in terms of your work? You know, the fact that you're you know, you're more Kate, like you're growing into yourself in the role. How does that show up in the people you work with? Do they notice, like, you know, Jesus, Kate's finding her stride, or do they say?
You don't know, being honest. But I think though, but to some degree, actually, even if you think back on what I've said since I sat down, you know, and maybe other people in the room will identify with this. I didn't always feel like I fitted in correctly. I had an awful lot of energy, so I didn't really want to conform with the prescriptive, you know, get a nice steady job, eventually go down to 3 days a week and have a couple of kids. No, I did have kids, but instead I sort of created my own world that I was able to, and that maybe ties with being an introvert as well. You know, my inner world is very simple, like I said, and so whether I've hit my stride or not in there, I'm happy in there. You know, it just feels like the right place for me, and I just don't think at this point, especially, I would be able to fit into a large corporate world where I would. And some part of me is sad about that, I guess, a little bit. When my brother's works for he's got a really good job at the pharmaceutical. We're like chalk and cheese, and he goes into work, he comes out, you know, he does a very straightforward 9 to 5, but it's just not for me. Whether it comes out in how I am with my team or not, I don't know, but I just have my own little bubble going on, and it's where I'm happy, you know.
If I was to ask a random 3 people in the Glen Cove office, what do they admire most about you? What kind of stuff do you think I'd be hearing back?
Oh my God. I'm pretty good to work for. I would look after people in my office very well. They all know they have to work really hard, but I would have immense respect for my staff. So I think they like that about me. This is a really hard one. That's like, you know, what you love about yourself that you hope other people are saying about you.
Now's your chance.
I don't know, actually. Maybe I should ask them. But I look after them. I think they'd probably all say that. I do look after them. I'd like to think I'm a good leader in the office, that I lead from the front. I'm, you know, pretty much there for everyone, you know, and maybe my drive, I think it excites them at times to hear the plans and to feel like they're part of the team. They tell me that, you know, God, it's very exciting to know that's on the horizon. Or if I'm on a trip somewhere, I'll tell them about the cool people I met, that I told them about the office, you know. And so I, as I say to my daughter, I bring them on the journey with me, you know, and I really do. And I think that's really important. It gets harder as your business gets bigger because there's more people coming in. But you can still do it to some degree, I think.
So let's talk about the getting bigger thing, the journey in terms of what's to come.
Yeah.
Where do you want to bring it?
Well, double-digit millions is still my goal. Whether I get there or not, that's still the goal. I don't know how it looks yet, but that's the plan. So that's pretty much it. I'm fairly sure that's my plan.
And will that involve kind of expanding the scope and reach of it? Or
yeah,
is it just,
that's where the UK is really exciting for me. So I'm limited by population here and literally by bed size. And also as the economy has picked up, the you know, beds are getting more, it's a different playing field out there now. So it's very hard for me to get the same expansive growth in Ireland as I've had in the past, you know. I mean, I remember turning over my first million and it was just, did not see it coming, it was a very scary moment for me, actually.
Really?
It was not like you'd imagine I was popping champagne and having a ball. I was just like,
I know,
oh my God, I don't have enough phone lines, I don't have enough staff. I have where people are getting annoyed, we can't get back to them, you know, and so, I've lost train of thought, sorry.
That's good. You're dreaming of the future, hopefully. What do you think are likely, based on your experience now of the last decade, what do you think are call it the vital few, call it approaches or disciplines or certain things that you know work for you that will likely pave the success that you're aspiring towards?
Sure, I don't know what that, like, as in that's very hard to answer because that's a very complicated question in that there are so many moving parts to that. And some of them may work, some of them may not, you know.
Let me shrink it down to just you though, just in terms of, you know, you being you and you showing up on a daily basis or doing the things or you know, the kind of approaches that work. If
I have to, like, I'm so determined still, I'm so very ambitious still, and with children at the moment, it's really hard to execute that ambition and be a good mum. And I don't want to end up sort of like when they're 20 looking back and saying, oh yeah, you used to be around sometimes, but it was dad raised us, you know. So right now I'm in a tricky spot, but I'm hanging in there for the moment where I can then push down into second and drive on again, you know. And that's just part of my journey. There's an awful lot of pressure out there as well, in terms of entrepreneurship. Where are you? How are you valued? What are you doing? For me, I know where I am right now and I know where I'm going, but I just can't get there quite fast enough right now. But that's because I have a family, and I'm okay with saying that. That's the decision I made. That's where I am. But I'm pretty determined, so that's maybe what will take me there, hopefully, anyway. With coronavirus, it could all end in 3 weeks. We'd be all laughing and saying, didn't I just see that girl saying she wanted to make double-digit millions? She just went bust.
I doubt it. But coming back to your, one of the themes of our conversation, the reality that you spoke about in terms of having your two kids at the age that they are, and the realities of you defining how you want to spend your time, how you want to invest your precious energy over the next few years. The kind of supportive conversations that you can have with peers, let's say, that would almost kind of reinforce you taking your own path rather than falling into some other path. How does that work out in that context now?
Well, if this answers what you're asking me, there's someone in this room that gave me a great piece of advice once, and it was at one of your Smarter Egg Circles, and I was quite emotional about how to sort of run family and work in parallel. And it was Joan Lucy from Vibes and Scribes came up to me afterwards, and she said, I didn't know her very well then, I know her better now, and she just said, I just want to say to you that I was where you were at, and she said, you'll be a different kind of mum, but no less a mum than your friends around you. You'll just be a little bit different. And it gave me such peace. Yeah. Someone got it. Yeah. My God, you know, you can talk about it to people who work for people all day long, but Joan got it. She saw, and I suspect you probably had been through that pain because you saw my pain, you know. And so again, it's finding those people in your life who will tell you, it's okay, you're doing your best, this is how I did it, and you're okay, you know.
Yeah, well done. And how is that going for you, as Dr. Phil used to say?
It's definitely hard, you know. Yeah. It is hard, yeah, I won't lie. It's because you want to be a great mum and you also want to strive on your business, and the two do not naturally fit together. Yeah. And I'm not a kumbaya mother. I'm not, you know, I miss the days where I could turn 2 pages at once when I was reading my children's storybooks so that they wouldn't notice, you know. Now they're like, you've skipped a page. Oh, have I?
That's a good hack there, guys.
But actually, what is a great support for me is my husband. Yeah. So he's not as driven as I am. He works in the business. He fulfills a role in the business, but he allows me gallop forward. And that's another narrative we have to have with our little boys, you know. Yeah. You don't have to be in charge. You don't have to be the breadwinner. You don't have to be the person that brings home everything, or you know, and that's because sometimes there's an onus on men, I think, to be that alpha male kind of person, you know. And that's a narrative we need to show little boys as well, that it's not the only way to live, you know.
Yeah, very much so. Kate, there's so much in your story and in the way that you're telling it, which is inspirational, I think. But how comfortable is that even me saying that? You know, like, do you have a sense that, Jesus, don't, you know, shut up or whatever? Or are you kind of like, yeah, I'm okay to stand and say, I'm Kate and here's my story and warts and all, and you...
I can't see the room of people, so I feel like I'm just talking to you, and I already know you really well, so, but it doesn't make me comfortable, and I don't think I'm a success in any shape or form, and that's... But I think that anyone in this room who has a business, if the day you think you're a success is maybe the day you lose the drive to get bigger, but that's a double-edged sword. Yes. Because when then is your success? When is enough? Right. You know, and really, people that start a business are not in it for the money. Most people, you know, now the money is great if you can make it and if it works out and everything. But initially, in those early days, it's about, you know, the execution of an idea. What if, the endless possibility, the using of your talents. And so I don't think that ever goes away fully, maybe, no matter what point you get to. But maybe I'm just not at that point yet. Maybe I'll come to a certain point and I'll just say, I've had enough, you know, and I wouldn't rule that out either. But
I have a feeling that it's unlikely to happen because there's something about you, Kate Hyde, that is inspiring and it's contagious. And I think you are having a positive impact on the entrepreneurs and the people in the room. And a big boola boss. Thank you.